This is the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show, a weekly broadcast that breaks down each Eagles game better than anyone else. The Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show is broadcasting live from the Great American Pub in Conshohocken and is heard on both 1490 WBCB and 107.3 FM and is brought to you by SEPTA, Fogo de Chão, the Great American Pub, Independence Blue Cross, and Grand Café L'Aquila. We now go live to the Great American Pub in Conshohocken for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Now, here are your hosts, Paul Domowitch and Paul Jolovitz.
Everybody to the beautiful Great American Pub in Conshohocken. This is the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. I'm Paul Jolovitz. He is Paul Domowitch. And we have a great guest tonight. Dom will introduce in a second. How are you?
Doing well. How about you?
Doing very well. Eagles 2-0. Not a lot of style points.
No, but
2-0. 2-0 is 2-0, yeah. And it is what it is, Dom. But before we introduce our guest, I have a big problem with the insistence on style points of people in general. You win games, you win games. Nobody plays anybody in preseason. You're not going to be sharp coming out of preseason. Everything's about expectations. My expectations are very, very low the first few weeks for everybody, not just the Eagles. And the Eagles don't play anybody in preseason, and they come out and play some sloppy football, and everybody gets up in arms. What's going on around here?
Well, I hear you, but I mean, you also gotta. I mean, you gotta pick apart what you struggle, what a team struggled to do, so that it can continue to get better as the season goes along. But again, the bottom line is they're 2-0. Those are two games that maybe a few years ago they don't win.
Nope, and they play next week against Tampa Bay.
Yep. The
only matchup in week 3 of 2-0 teams. That should be fun. Our guest tonight is also fun. He played middle linebacker on Buddy Ryan's Eagles back in the 1980s and early 1990s. He is a native of the state of Pennsylvania, coached football, been a good friend of this show for many years. Mr. Mike Reichenbach, how are you, buddy?
Very good, thank you. Good to be here. It's always good to show up, to be on the show after a win.
It is, and let me ask a question about the style point thing. How have you watched the Eagles? Are you expecting, if you didn't play in preseason, would you expect to be sharp coming out of the gate? We're comparing everybody to the Cowboys, to the Niners. 2 weeks are completely irrelevant to me as long as you win your games. I mean, the Cowboys look very good, the Niners look very good. But style points, do they matter to you?
No, I think because it's so hard to win in the NFL. It's so competitive. I mean, the Philly fans are always going to be challenged those things. I mean, I remember when we used to win back when I was playing, and you drive home after the games, and you would listen to the radio talk shows, and they would tell you didn't win right. There's a better way to win, and so you're kind of used to that. But you're right. I mean, I look at it and I see what I was glad to see with the Eagles this past week was that something wasn't working. They went to the run game.
They adjusted.
They stuck with it, and that's what they struggled with in the past. They would. I think even in the Super Bowl, I think we've talked about that, where they got away from their game plan, and I think it cost them. Now they stuck with it and stayed with it. So that was a good sign.
They're a diverse offense, which, I mean, you shut down their run games, and some teams will. I mean, or at least they won't let them run like they did last week, and they can throw on you with the weapons they got. You shut down the pass game a little bit, and they can do what they did last week. So that's a nice thing to have.
Yeah, it's nice to be different. Brian Johnson adjusted a little bit. DeAndre Swift, the local kid, made good. Jalen Hurts, though, obviously looks a little tentative, guys, in the pocket. I didn't expect anything more to be completely. I know this is a broken record, but I didn't expect anything out of Jalen Hurts first couple weeks with a new offensive coordinator, getting into the flow. He looks like he's thinking too much back there. Not everything's automatic and instinctive, and he's holding the ball too long through the bad pick last week. How much of that do you think is getting used to things, and how much is things that you're thinking, where'd Jalen go? Mike, first.
Well, I think the pressure's always going to be on Jalen. He's a guy, a hard hat kind of guy. He comes to work, and again, but you put pressure on yourself, and I think he has to get back to getting the ball to the people that are open. Don't put too much on yourself to have to make a big play. I mean, there's people open. Goddard was open underneath a few times. You saw some things that he just has to go what the defense has taken. It was giving him, and I think that he'll continue to progress. It's coaching. I think you look at guys and they have to keep progressing every year, but sometimes you have to be coached and be coachable and as long as he's coachable and they're telling him, hey, find the open man, get the ball to him, and let's move the chains.
He opened the season against two of the better defensive coaches in the league, in Belichick and then Belichick's former protege, Brian Flores. Both of those guys spent a lot.
You can't be a former protege. You're either a protege or you're not.
Well, former. You can't be a former?
No, because you're always a protege once you're a protege.
There you go. But they spent a lot of the offseason. I mean, they were watching a lot of tape of the Eagles' offense, just like most other coordinators that are going to be facing them, trying to figure out, how do we stop Jalen's running? How do we stop these two wide receivers from dancing all over us? And, you saw both the Dolphins and the Patriots do some things. They kind of mixed up their rush. Sometimes it was 3 guys. Sometimes it was 4. Sometimes it was a blitz. They were mixing up their coverages, which I think confused them a little bit. And they also did a really good job, I thought, of stopping his running. I mean, he did not. He had a 14-yard run, I think, against the last week against the Vikings, but that was pretty much. At one point the crowd starts booing. When he would do the read option, and then he slides because there's nothing there and he doesn't want to get hit. The crowd's like, as you had mentioned, Eagle fans can tend to do. So I think they're obviously spending this long, extended week studying what those two teams did to them, and he's just going to get sharper. I mean, what Jalen does, if you just study his history going back to Alabama, is he just keeps working hard, keeps grinding, keeps figuring out how to get better, and I think that's going to happen eventually here.
Mike, you switched coordinators several times during your career, college and the NFL. When a coordinator comes in with a new system, obviously defense isn't offense, duh. But how long did it take you, and the switches can be huge, they can be small, or anything in between, but how long did it generally take you for a new defense, a new system to be instinctive so that you're reacting and not thinking on the field? Is there a time you can put on that?
It's hard to say. I mean, it depends on the defense. I mean, we started out when I came in as a 34 defense. We were kind of a bend but don't break. It was more of a zone type of philosophy. Then it was a different. As Buddy came in, Buddy Ryan, it was more of an attacking type of defense. So it was, he came in and said. He told me, he said, Mike, if I can't change my people, I will change my people. So his was more of a culture kind of thing, and so he handpicked guys to put them in certain positions to get that kind of mentality, that mindset. So offense is definitely going to be tougher than a defense to learn and grasp that kind of a new coordinator.
All right, Domo and I were talking before the show, and we don't really want to have a funereal type moment during the show, but I know everybody around Philly is kind of upset today. People aren't themselves. People aren't saying a whole lot. I can barely talk. The day has finally come, Mike. I know you couldn't really drive on the way over here, but Aaron Sippis is no more. He is, thank God, healthy and alive, but he's been cut by the Eagles off the practice squad. Who's the new punter?
Braden Mann.
Braden Mann, yeah, he used to be with the Jets.
Or the Steelers or something.
Describe
3 years with the Jets.
Yeah, 3 years with the Jets, but describe the Sippis era as tightly as you can, Mike. What does it do to you personally, and what does it do to the Eagles?
Well, we always used to say we would have, if there was 53 men on the roster, we would say we would have 51 players and 2 kickers. So we did not consider them a player, and we said that they don't even make tackles, that people trip over them. So basically, it's one of those things. I mean, if you can do it, I mean, I've talked to guys like Sean Landetti, guys that I played with that played for a long time.
Sean was great.
And it's a pressure position. I mean, when guys are coming after you like that. But
and Buddy was he had such high praise for.
Oh
kickers.
yeah.
He wasn't.
Zendejas.
We had in the kicking mule. Do you remember the kicking mule?
Oh yeah. Tomo, how have you been today with the Sippis news?
It's been tough, but I'm getting over it.
In reality, I mean, he is, the new punter's going to be on the practice squad, play with the Jets for 3 years. But the bigger issue for me, guys, and it's been an issue that actually got profiled by 60 Minutes, and people are thinking, what are you talking about? There's a punter out there named Matt Ariza who was accused of rape. Very, very high-profile case. Again, 60 Minutes did a piece on it. Sixth-round draft choice of the Bills back in the day, not that long ago, a few years ago. Averaged 51.9 yards a kick his senior year, won the Ray Guy Award. The charges were ultimately dropped, but it's been a big hubbub, and nobody's touched this guy. Been radioactive, the risk and the reward. I'll do it for a quarterback like Michael Vick, but not a punter. Seems to be the current thing. Is Matt Ariza, in your opinion, ever going to get a shot without knowing if there's anything more to this case than we know as a public, Domo?
Well, if he hasn't already, since since the charges were dropped, I mean, there's plenty of jobs that have been open and nobody's brought him in. And I don't know if he's been quietly been in camps for tryouts. I haven't heard of
supposedly.
Anybody. Yeah, it's going to be hard for him. I mean, it's like you said, people are willing to take a chance on quarterbacks or a position that they feel is a little bit more valuable. I mean, the thinking with a punter is they're a dime a dozen, and we'll find somebody with less baggage.
Does that go with you too, Mike? Did you ever have anybody come into the team or any team you played on that had some baggage in public and then had to kind of duck from that once you played, or were you never with something like that?
Well, back when we played, there wasn't social media, so a lot of what happened, a lot of the things that are happening in the league now happened then. It was just put undercover because they were trying to protect you from all that. It's kind of a risk-reward type of thing. I mean, what's the risk? Because it is a business. I mean, the NFL, they've understood that logo NFL is worth a lot of money, and they're more willing to get rid of players now that have that type of background in their lives than protect it, or because it gets exposed and it's just bad. It's bad business.
Yeah, I mean, a perfect example is Josh Sill.
Yeah.
He went to trial for
offensive lineman.
Was found not guilty. They already had him on their reserve list because they had signed him before all this came out, and they brought him back. But that's different. Yeah. That's an offensive lineman who they felt had some upside.
The big guy with us was Kevin Allen. Do you remember Kevin Allen?
I mean, he was sex on the beach.
Yeah, he came in and he was getting cramps. And we just remember in camp he was cramping up, and then we found out that it was the drug. It was cocaine.
Yeah. But he was convicted and sent to prison. I mean, this is something where I'm not justifying anything like this, but it's he said, she said, and it's public. And to me, it's about risk and reward, like you said. But he's a punter, and I mean, the world's not going to end or not end based on whether Matt Ariza gets signed. You got to feel sorry for someone if there's nothing to this that had his career ruined. But then again, if he did something, if there's something we don't know, it is what it is, right?
Yeah. There was a saying we said, "There's nothing good happens after midnight," and if sometimes it's wrong place, wrong time, and I've believe me, I understand that very well.
But Buddy Ryan had one of the classic. I mean, he had classic rips of every player because there was nobody he spared.
He didn't name players, so Mike was 55.
I remember his first mini camp. It was like he had it in Tampa.
Remember? Yep.
And somebody asked him about Kevin Allen, and he says, "Hey, good guy to have if you're looking for somebody to stand around and kill grass." This is a former #1 pick at the time.
Yeah.
He was tough. He was definitely.
He was right, though. I mean,
give us a buddy story, Mike. Before we take a break here, give us a buddy story that we've never heard before. That's not going to be illegal or socially unacceptable. Give me a buddy story that you enjoy that nobody might have heard.
Well, when we were in camp, he would go into the offensive huddle and he'd say, "Listen to me," because there was unwritten rules in camp. You never cut below the waist.
Even with Buddy?
Well, this is what he said. He went in the offensive huddle and he said, "Listen to me. You do anything you have to block that man. I don't care if you have to cut him, chew his leg off. You're gonna block him." And then he would go in and he says, "And if you don't, I'll cut you." So then he would come to the defensive huddle and he'd say, "Listen, they're going to cut you. If you let them cut you, I will cut you." So we would run one play and a fight would break out and we would fight for 10 minutes and then they would break it up and second play, same thing.
Now you were there for, what year was the body bag game?
1990.
That was 90, yeah.
90. Okay.
Yeah. We got to take a quick break now. When we come back, we'll talk about the body bag game. Much to do about everything in the NFL. After 2 weeks, the Eagles are 2-0. Go over the offense, the defense, the perception of this team in this city. So much more in the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff. We're live from the Great American Pub in Conshohocken. Don't forget, you can watch the show live at WBCBSports.com, and you can listen or watch rather by searching WBCB Sports on YouTube. We're back with the Monday Night Kickoff right after this. Stay with us.
Since 1991, the Great American Pub in Conshohocken has been offering an authentic and memorable experience for guests looking to dine in or enjoy the bar and nightlife. Located at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken, the Great American Pub has all your craft beer selections and some of the best food options anywhere. While you're there trying their buffalo chicken spring rolls or Maryland crab cakes, enjoy your favorite sporting events on their numerous televisions surrounding the bar. Visit them at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken or learn more online at thegreatamericanpub.com.
Millions of Americans are losing their medical assistance or Medicaid coverage. If this affects you, Independence Blue Cross can help. You may be eligible to enroll in a health plan for as little as $0 a month. With Independence Blue Cross, you get the largest provider network in the area, including most Keystone First doctors and hospitals. We also offer free 24/7 telemedicine, coverage for hospital stays and prescriptions. See if you qualify for $0 health insurance and enroll today. Call Independence Blue Cross at 1-844-464-2583 or visit ibx.com/staycovered.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
We now return to the Great American Pub in Conshohocken for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Domowitch and Paul Jolovitz.
All right, back with the Monday Night Kickoff here from the beautiful Great American Pub in Conshohocken. Paul Domowitch with me, Mike Reichenbach. This is our guest. Nick Sirianni, Domo, spoke to the media today for the first time since the Thursday night home opener, 11 days between games. What kind of job do you think Nick's doing the first couple weeks this year, and then what do you see going forward?
Well, press conference-wise, he's getting a little bit defensive. I thought he was kind of a laid-back guy, and he's, because he's getting a lot of questions that he doesn't seem to want to answer about injuries, about offensive struggles, but he's handled those before, and now he's getting a little testy.
Why do you think that is?
He's in his third year instead of his second and first.
Yeah.
I don't know. You mentioned that we're 2-0 and that's all that matters.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's kind of his approach, and he doesn't understand why people would be asking questions right now about things that they're not doing well.
Mike, what do you think of Nick Sirianni from the outside looking in, obviously, but still in the area? You coach football. What do you think of Nick and what he's brought to this team, and what's different about year 3 than years 1 and 2?
Well, I think, you go through so many different things. I mean, he's a passionate guy. So the one game when he was antagonizing the fans, because I think they were heckling him at one point, and the Eagles started, and he was going directly at the fans. And it's like anything. I mean, you give somebody too much information, and they use it against you. So I think he's learning that. Like Belichick's, you watch Belichick, it's one-word answers. Yeah. Once you've been in the league long
unless you ask him a question about a technical subject about football, and then he goes on for a half hour.
Yeah.
If you ask him if you cut block and then you go too high, what happens? He'll give you a 30-minute answer, Damo, won't he?
The irony of Bill Belichick with the media is when he was a defensive coordinator before he got his first head coaching opportunity with Cleveland, which totally changed his whole attitude towards the media. He was the greatest interview that after a game, defensive coordinators back then, you could actually talk to them in the locker room. And, he would lay it out for you exactly what happened right, what happened wrong. He was great. And then he went to Cleveland and got torched there by the Cleveland media, and everything changed. He took the attitude that, as Mike said, one-word answers, and
Mike, you played for a coach who was a little bit of a lightning rod here, Buddy Ryan, obviously. A lot of people liked him a lot of people didn't. I frankly don't think Buddy Ryan was a very good head coach because he never won a playoff game. He obviously was a great defensive coach. How would you, in 50 words or less, summarize Buddy Ryan? I've never asked you this question. I mean, obviously you played for him. He had you start for him, but he's a guy that could come into the huddle and do that and then be nice after practice, then come with the batting ball. He was a very complex guy, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a motivator. He knew how to motivate guys. I mean, he was definitely, there was things that you learn from every coach, I think, that you kind of take with you. You could even use it towards life, and there were some things that you learned from Buddy. But again, he was very defensive focused. He was very not very offensive minded. He sometimes, I think that the biggest fault that I saw about Buddy was some of the coaches that he surrounded himself with, because they weren't always the most talented coaches. They were just loyal. Yeah. And so I think that hurt him as far as offensive schemes and some of the things we were doing. So I think, in that realm, I think that he could have done better at that as far as surrounding himself with good coaches.
Without naming names or even speculating, do any of those loyal coaches have the initials RK and later coach the Jets?
Yeah, you're in that. Yeah, you're in that zone. Yes.
But he I mean, Mike's right. I mean, he surrounded himself with a lot of guys that were good guys. Yeah. But I mean, when you look at the staff Andy Reid put together when he came to Philadelphia in '99, got himself experienced coordinators. Buddy, I think, had Wade Phillips. Wade's a terrific guy, and ended up being learned how to be a good defensive coordinator. Back then, he was just following what Buddy told him to. But there were a lot of other positions, wide receiver, DBs, he just brought in guys that maybe he owed a favor to from past, rather than thinking, this is a guy, like John Harbaugh or somebody like that I think can grow into the job and be a great position.
Yeah, I think coach. The best guy one guy that he did do was Jeff Fisher.
Yeah.
And that's only because Jeff played for him, right. And he was familiar with the scheme. He bought into it. He knew how it worked. I mean, Buddy would come in and go, okay, here's what we're doing today. He'd go, you go here, you go here, you go there, and he'd put the chalk down. He said, now teach him how to do it. And Jeff was the guy that had to teach us how to do it.
I want to ask you about his 46 defense. Take that and use it now. I mean, do you think it would work? His whole approach to blitzing could work today, or he basically didn't seem to. I mean, he just believed it would. Everything he did would work.
Well, it would be difficult because of the spread offense.
Right.
So the 46, you would kind of come out of that when they would spread you out, because it was a scheme designed to stop the run pass, but put pressure. It was an offense. You came at people. So to some degree, you could use some of the scheme. I don't think you could use it against the spread offense.
Although with Jerome Brown and Reggie White in the middle, it doesn't matter what you're running.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. Speaking of coaches, guys, we were talking about this before the show also. If somebody said to you a year ago that a current NFL coach would make hysterical television commercials, name 30 of them that you think might be that guy. There are a lot of people that would name 30 without naming Mr. Andy Reid, who's on two of the funniest commercials for State Farm that you've ever seen. Did you ever anticipate that, Mike? It's like John Madden becoming the greatest analyst ever. Some things just are curveballs that come out of left field, don't they?
Good comparison.
Yeah. I don't. Well, most of the guys I played for or was in the league when I was there wouldn't be in the league right now. They would have gotten fired probably.
Tom, what do you think about Andy Reid's commercial timing?
Those are classics. I tell you what, when my wife
Nuggies.
and I watched the first one on the airplane where he's painting mustaches on people, I mean, that's hilarious when he throws the pin. Then they come back. You think you can't top that one? And he comes back with this, let me try that with some of these Nuggies. He's just, it's an untapped resource that you're right. I don't think many people thought Andy was could be a funny guy, and he could be.
Let me slide this in too, because this is a football show, but we can talk about other things with humanity also. A very popular coach in Philadelphia, in this case a manager, Charlie Manuel, was having a procedure done this weekend, had a stroke. We obviously want to send our best wishes to Charlie and his family from everybody, the entire Philadelphia region has gotten behind Charlie, who's supposedly doing a little bit better. Wonderful thing that is, and I know, Domo, you might want to say something, Mike, you as well.
Yeah, I mean, my daughter has worked for the Phillies for like 15 years, and she, got to know Charlie a little bit, and he was just a great guy. He was just, there was nothing artificial about him. He was just an old country boy, and I hope he makes a complete recovery.
The way I put it, Mike, on Twitter the other day, he's one of those rare people that if you had an interaction with him for a second, he made you feel like he was your best friend, even if you never met him before in your life. Say whatever you like about Charlie Manuel, but have you known anybody like that had that instant friend factor that Charlie seems to have?
Well, it's just the genuineness of who you are. I mean, the game can change in a lot of different ways. You either impact the game or the game impacts you. It's more of who you are as a person. I think that he was, I think that was the thing that you hear about Charlie Manuel is that he was just a genuine guy.
Yeah.
He's as genuine as it gets, Tomo. I mean, your daughter worked for the Phillies for 15 years. Charlie could be anywhere and anything, and he could be in any situation. It doesn't have to be baseball.
Yeah.
He's just a genuine person, a real good person. Obviously, we hope he gets better very, very soon.
While we're sending out tributes, because I've realized that our next show will be after his birthday, I want to wish a special birthday to a former Eagle executive, Leo Carlin.
Yeah. How old is Leo?
His birthday is September 23rd. I want to say mid-80s, but I don't know for sure. And he's just a terrific guy. I had the pleasure of writing his memoirs with him, and I haven't seen him in a while, and I hope he's doing well, and just want to wish him a happy birthday.
Well said, Damo. There's some things that we're happy to announce and talk about. There's some things we're not so happy to announce. I have a buddy here tonight who's a pretend Cowboy fan. He roots for the Cowboys when they're good, claims he doesn't care when they're bad. They look pretty good the first couple weeks, guys. Style points to me don't matter in the NFL, but they've looked good. There's no way around it, especially the defense. Micah Parsons, Mike, at the linebacker position that the Eagles are challenged at right now. I want to ask you about that down the road as well. But what have you seen from Dallas these first 2 weeks? Do you think they're a threat to the Eagles? Do you think they've surpassed the Eagles? Or do you think it's 2 weeks? Let's wait a while.
No, they're definitely talented. Their defense, they focused mainly on that one draft and brought in guys that when they drafted them, they were playing. They were having an impact right away their rookie year, and now they're just getting better. So you see they're starting to dominate games, and that's important. Now I'm not totally sold on Dak yet. I don't know where he stands with that, his the turnovers and the things that he was struggling with in the past, but he has talented people around him. I mean, he's got a big offensive line, he's got the running game, he's got good receivers. They're definitely going to be a team to reckon with as they come down the road. I think they're the team to beat in the NFC East right now.
Don, did you see Mike McCarthy today at his press conference when one of the media asked a question and said you're 2-0, and he said, wait a minute, we're 2-0? Are you a McCarthy fan? Because I think he's a complete buffoon.
No, I like him much better than you two. I think he's I've talked to people that have played for him that think he's an excellent play caller.
I think he's a horrible play caller.
Him taking over the play calling is going to help them this year. You look at the quarterbacks he's worked with, going back to Steve Young and Aaron Rodgers and
Let me say, he's a good play caller. He does a lot of things right, but he seems to turtle up and get conservative in really big moments. That's a knock on him. I think that's a fair knock.
Yeah.
Bottom line, though, the Cowboys 2 weeks, obviously can go up, Eagles can go down, either team can go sideways. Are the Cowboys a legitimate threat to the Eagles after this short period of time? Do Eagle fans really have anything to worry about down there when they play in 7 or 8 weeks, or are the Cowboys just out of the gate faster than the Eagles?
I think this year they scare me a little bit more than the last couple of years, and I agree with Mike. I think the one question I have is Dak. Mm-hmm. Coming off a 15 interception year, it's going to be really interesting to see when they play the Eagles. Their defense is just outstanding, and it's how the Eagles to figure out a way to. the weakness they have. Their offensive line is good, but not great. By then, who knows where the Eagles' pass rush is going to be. If they can figure out a way with those tackles now to get inside pressure on Dak and force him into mistakes, I think, it's probably going to end up the way it always ends up. They're going to split the regular season. I think they do that just about every year.
Yep.
And then we'll see who ends up in Week 18 winning the division.
All right. Dallas has pretty good linebackers. His name is Micah Parsons. Mike Reichenbach played linebacker back in the day. We're going to ask him what he thinks of Micah Parsons. And the Eagles situation at linebacker, Nakobe Dean down for a few weeks on injury reserve. Not much there right now in some people's eyes. What does Mike see? We'll find out. We're here at the Great American Pub in Conshohocken with the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff. We're back with more right after this. Stay with us, folks.
Since 1991, the Great American Pub in Conshohocken has been offering an authentic and memorable experience for guests looking to dine in or enjoy the bar and nightlife. Located at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken, the Great American Pub has all your craft beer selections and some of the best food options anywhere. While you're there trying their buffalo chicken spring rolls or Maryland crab cakes, enjoy your favorite sporting events on their numerous televisions surrounding the bar. Visit them at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken or learn more online at thegreatamericanpub.com.
Millions of Americans are losing their medical assistance or Medicaid coverage. If this affects you, Independence Blue Cross can help. You may be eligible to enroll in a health plan for as little as $0 a month. With Independence Blue Cross, you get the largest provider network in the area, including most Keystone First doctors and hospitals. We also offer free 24/7 telemedicine, coverage for hospital stays and prescriptions. See if you qualify for $0 health insurance and enroll today. Call Independence Blue Cross at 1-844-464-2583 or visit ibx.com/staycovered.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
We now return to the Great American Pub in Conshohocken for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Domowitch and Paul Jolovitz.
10 more minutes. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, wait for the text. All righty, back with the Monday Night Kickoff at the Great American Pub in Conshohocken. Mike Reichenbach, our guest, Paul Domowitch and I. We do it every week from here. We'll be here Tuesday next week with Gary Cobb, another former Eagle linebacker, Bill Berkey, Mike Reichenbach, Gary Cobb, 3 ex-Eagle linebackers. But if we had this year's to pick from, somebody's going to have to make a name for himself, Mike. With Nakobe Dean out, Christian Ellis, Nicholas Morrow wore the green dot last week. Zach Cunningham had a nice game, but he just came this year. What do you think about the devaluation of the position of linebacker in the Eagles' eyes? And then we'll talk about Micah Parsons afterwards. But what about the Eagles and how much they pay attention to that position?
Well, it's a business, and everything you have to look at the budget of everything, and you're looking at positions, and they knew coming into the season with Jalen and the contract he was going to be getting, and some of the things they needed to improve on.
Well, Nakobe's on a rookie contract, obviously. Yep.
Yeah, I think that I remember when negotiating, you'd always talk to your agents, and they would say, "Listen, they're paying this much for this position. That's all they're going to pay," and you kind of knew that going in, and so I think teams are going to look at that and exploit it. I'm not saying that it's been 1 week. I think there's some improvement there. I just think that that could be something that the teams go after going forward. So.
Don, what do you think about that? I mean, certain teams accentuate certain positions. You can't pay everybody, obviously. You saw Kansas City gave Mahomes more money today, but is it a case where they don't emphasize the position? They don't happen to have great linebackers, and the one they do have is on a rookie deal? What do you think it is?
Well, they're not alone. I mean, most of the league is de-emphasizing linebackers just like they're de-emphasizing running backs as far as paying them. I mean, they run them until they drop on their rookie contract and then go find another one. As far as the Eagles are concerned, I mean, the biggest area right now you're worried about is the middle, linebacker and safety, because of the injuries. They've given up 7 touchdown passes so far, and 3 of them have been to tight ends. That's as many touchdown passes as tight ends caught all of last year on them. So they need to, teams know that. They're watching the tape, and that's where we're going to see Tampa Bay attack them next week. That's where we're going to see other teams attack them.
And Mike Evans at Tampa Bay has had a very good first 2 weeks with Baker Mayfield. Eagles at safety. You mentioned safety and linebacker positions. Obviously, Bradbury's hurt. Hopefully, he'll be back next week. But safety, they're a little bit short right now. Sidney Brown is apparently not ready yet. How do you see the safety position right now? Reed Blankenship missed last week. He's only a second-year guy. Where do you see the Eagles in the middle of the field, which the first two teams to play him have exploited it, and Baker Mayfield's going to try to be number 3 with that? Dama?
Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah, you're Dama.
I'm not a big Baker Mayfield fan.
Neither am I.
I think, I don't think he's going to cause the problems that even Kirk Cousins Mike Evans is a terrific receiver.
That's some two good weeks too.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if Bradbury comes back this week. What do you do with him? Do you put him on the outside again where he's obviously best? Or they worked him and worked a lot of guys before Avonte Maddox got hurt at the nickel corner. And Bradbury can play anywhere, obviously. But, where would he be most valuable right now? It'll probably be a week-to-week thing with where you think, who you want to shut down. So getting him back is certainly going to help. Sidney Brown, I love that kid. I understand he's going to make mistakes, but I just love watching him play at the speed he plays at. He reminds me of the kid from the Steeler safety that's in the Hall of Fame.
Polamalu?
Yeah. Not so much.
It's a little early for that.
Yeah, it is, but I'm talking style-wise. Just hair on fire, that kind of play. He's a guy the fans love. He made a hit against Minnesota on special teams. He just drilled their return guy. So I'd like to see him get a few more snaps on defense.
Mike, it seems like Tampa Bay, obviously in transition, seems like they've taken a step. We're 600 back at quarterback from Tom Brady to Baker Mayfield. This game looked, when we did our wins and losses at the beginning of the year, well, that's a W. Obviously, injuries can change anything, the relative strength of a couple teams. Tampa Bay's only 2-0, but they are 2-0, and they've won the first 2 weeks. They've looked pretty good doing it. Are they a walkover? Do the Eagles have? Obviously, you got to respect any team in the NFL. What's the one thing that Todd Bowles' team does that the Eagles have to watch out for in Week 3?
Well, I think they're a good defensive unit. I think their defense is strong. Baker Mayfield has some experience. He's not going to be the guy that wins the game for you, but if they can, if their defense can get turnovers or if they can do some of the things, the Eagles have struggled somewhat with their passing game. Yeah. I don't think they're going to be able to run the football against the Buccaneers. I don't think that is.
Tampa's going to be geared up for the run after 259 yards the other night. $175 for DeAndre. You think Tampa Bay lines up with 8 in the box and dares Jalen to throw with those weapons?
I think right now, they have to force him to throw the ball and see if that he's worked out some of the things that he's struggling with. That's you want to see if he has and see if he finds the open guys, and I think they're going to come after him and put some heat on him and take away their strengths.
Yeah, one of the things about Baker that I've noticed the last couple of years, he's always been near the bottom of you check guys' average snap to release time, and he's always hanging on to the ball. Near the bottom of the league. This year he's gotten, obviously they've stressed get the ball out, and that's what teams have to do against the Eagles pass rush this year, regardless of how good their offensive line is, regardless of who's back there. They've got, what the Eagles have to do this week is confuse him enough that he holds on to the ball until that pass rush can get to him.
That's a big task for Sean Desai. We know that. He's got to go up against Baker Mayfield. The Eagles have to go up against Todd Bowles and his defense. He's the head coach, but he has a hand in the defense. Obviously, Dallas Goedert caught 6 balls Week 2 after being shut out Week 1, but only for 20-something yards. It's like he wasn't even there, Damo. But he caught 6 balls. But the one thing, guys, last week that's been controversial on our airwaves at WIP and around the NFL is A.J. Brown's confrontation on the sideline, if you want to call it that, with Jalen Hurts, the godfather of his son, A.J. Brown's son. They're good friends, obviously, but competition's competition. He didn't catch a ball last week. Of course, Devontae didn't catch a ball week 1 of last year. Mike, I mean, wide receivers are notorious divas, but he didn't catch, he wasn't really thrown to a whole lot last week. He did catch balls last week, but on a scale of 1 to 100, where do you put that little tiff, or if you want to call it that, on the sidelines? I don't think it's very important, but it can mushroom because they were winning at the time. You got to make sure that doesn't happen too often, right?
No, there's a difference between intensity and egos. I mean, some guys I've seen around the league that are just, they want to be the main, they want the spotlight. Right. That's different.
Regardless of what the team does.
Yeah, regardless of what the team, they're bigger than the team, and
Yep.
that's the problem. I don't think that's the situation here. I think there's intensity there. They all want to make plays, and they see things that are, maybe if Jalen is missing him when he's open, and he's just, hey, listen, I'm make sure you look for me because I'm open. So I think there's a difference between intensity and ego. So.
One of the classic cases of where a situation like that tore a team apart, you go back to 2005 with the Eagles.
Yeah.
Where T.O. and Donovan McNabb, at one point he comes into the huddle and tells McNabb that he's open, and McNabb tells him to shut up. And you'd think, okay, you just dismiss that. Well, T.O. didn't. It ended up, growing like a cancer,
Yep.
and the rest is history. That isn't this. I mean, Jalen Hurts won't let it become this because he knows how important A.J. Brown is to the team. From the very start, you've wondered, how do you juggle two great receivers like this?
And a tight end.
And a tight end. And this year they seem to want to throw to their running backs too. So, I don't think it's going to fester. I think they've probably had a few beers and worked it out.
Sometimes talent can do that. When you have an offense as talented as the Eagles are, obviously the offensive line played great last week in the running game. Pass blocking, Damo, they've had their problems the first couple weeks. They weren't sacked a whole lot last week. Minnesota didn't get to Jalen, but they got to him, got him to change his throws. He threw the one bad pick in the first quarter. The offensive line obviously is built for the running game. Most great offensive lines are. But they're also built for the passing game and pass blocking. Why the difference in the success with the run game and the pass game purely on the offensive line side in the first 2 games?
Well, I mean, teams are doing some stuff to confuse both Jalen and the offensive line. I mean, they're sometimes they're rushing 3, sometimes 4, sometimes 5. They're moving people around, and I think there's been some adjustments. Also, when you look at the sacks they've given up, some are on Jalen. I watched one last week. He steps up in the pocket. You could see he could have dumped the ball off to Boston Scott, and everything would have been fine. Boston Scott would have got about 5 yards. Instead, for whatever reason, he hangs on to it, and they sack him for 1 or 2 yards. Most of his sacks seem to be very minimal in yardage, but and also, that line is just too good long term. For it to be a problem. I mean, Lane Johnson is a Hall of Famer. Jason Kelsey's a Hall of Famer. Jordan Mailata, was a lump of clay that's turned into a Pro Bowl player. That line will gel, assuming they stay healthy as the season goes along, and they'll be great.
Before we take our final break, there was a documentary made about one of our offensive linemen, not Jordan Mailata, not Lane Johnson. Did you see the Kelsey documentary, Mike? And if so, what did you think of it? And if you haven't, sorry for asking.
I haven't seen it yet. I did see it advertised, and someone just was telling me last night that I should watch it. Yeah, it was really good. I haven't seen it yet.
You see it, Damo?
It is terrific. My wife and I saw it the other night.
Produced by Connor Barwin, executive produced.
Well, it started out, Jason expected to retire after the 2021 season, and this was supposed to be like his last, dealing with a player who's debating whether to retire and the whole, life after football, and, didn't turn out that way. Instead, it turns out to be a phenomenal film, and my wife made the comparison. I mean, she said Kylie Kelsey is like, she loves her.
She's the star of the show
1,000 times more than Brittany Mahomes in quarterback, who seemed to want to be the star of the show.
Yeah.
It's a great look into Jason. I mean, he's all the years I've been covering football. I mean, there's a handful of guys that were, I love to interview, and Jason was one of them because he was always insightful, and that's what you see here when he talks about a lot of the different aspects of being a football player.
He's so genuine, and you see that in the documentary. Watch it if you haven't. It's called Calcio on Amazon Prime. We're going to come back with final segment. I have a question for these guys. It's a one-word question. I'm interested to see what their answer is going to be. What's the question? Stay with us and you see. Monday Night Kickoff returns to Great American Pub in Conshohocken. Final segment after this.
Since 1991, the Great American Pub in Conshohocken has been offering an authentic and memorable experience for guests looking to dine in or enjoy the bar and nightlife. Located at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken, the Great American Pub has all your craft beer selections and some of the best food options anywhere. While you're there trying their buffalo chicken spring rolls or Maryland crab cakes, enjoy your favorite sporting events on their numerous televisions surrounding the bar. Visit them at 123 Fayette Street in Conshohocken or learn more online at thegreatamericanpub.com.
Millions of Americans are losing their medical assistance or Medicaid coverage. If this affects you, Independence Blue Cross can help. You may be eligible to enroll in a health plan for as little as $0 a month. With Independence Blue Cross, you get the largest provider network in the area, including most Keystone First doctors and hospitals. We also offer free 24/7 telemedicine, coverage for hospital stays and prescriptions. See if you qualify for $0 health insurance and enroll today. Call Independence Blue Cross at 1-844-464-2583 or visit ibx.com/staycovered.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
We now return to the Great American Pub in Conshohocken for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Domowitch and Paul Jolovitz.
All righty, we're back here with the Monday Night Kickoff again with the Great American Pub in Conshohocken. Come on by for a great meal, for fun. We have a great time on this show every Monday night. Next Tuesday with Gary Cobb, Domo, and I want to ask a question to you guys about somebody who's become the most talked about figure in football and one of the most talked about figures in America. He was on 60 Minutes last night for the second time in a year, which they don't normally do. He coaches a team that had zero public attention last year, going 1-11. He's changed football in a lot of ways. He does things his own way. He's increased sales of the merchandise 1,000,000%. And that's a guy who had success at the pro level as well, a little bit of success, Deion Sanders. What is it about him, Damo, and how far is this tidal wave going to go? They play Oregon this week. It could come crashing to earth, but it could keep going, too. The next couple of weeks will tell a big tale about Colorado.
Yeah, I mean, he's a terrific coach, terrific motivator, an annoying person.
But that game, they had the game day, ESPN there, the big ratings for a Colorado State game in the middle of the night.
He's a master marketer. I read a story on the woman who is his manager, and, I mean, they together have, he's going to make an awful lot of money before all is said and done. I mean, he's made a lot of money already, and I think he's a good enough. I mean, he's taken a 1-11 program. I mean, granted, you couldn't do this if not for the transfer portal, but
there's a new team, an entirely new team. And there's a common thread between the Sanders family and our guest, Mr. Mike Reichenbach. On the 60 Minutes last night, it was let out that Shedeur Sanders, Deion's son, who looks like he's going to be a high pick in the first round of next year's draft, with the NILs and everything around college football and money, drives around in a $190,000 Maybach. That's the kind of car you had when you were in school, Mike, correct?
Yeah,
stood out at East Stroudsburg, didn't it?
Yeah, no, I had what we called my dad's pickup truck with a cement mixer in the back. That's what I would go.
No NILs?
No NILs.
What do you think of this whole Deion thing? I mean, the whole phenomenon. Whatever you want to say, go ahead.
Well, he's a talented guy. I mean, wherever Deion has gone, since he's hit the scene in college football all the way up through, he's been flamboyant but he's a talented guy, and I agree with Damo. He knows how to to market things and to and to get the most out of it. And the biggest thing is if he becomes bigger than the game itself.
Like he is now, isn't
well,
he?
and that's the thing. I mean, I think there's a lot to say that again, college football, it's trickled down to the high school level. It's even down to it's become a business. It's all about marketing yourself. It used to be, let's face it, sports used to be something that would build character, and you would do it in your your leisure time. You did sports, you enjoyed doing it. It's become such a business now that's what moves things.
But guys, is this a good lesson for football? I mean, Dion has basically fired his entire team, almost everybody, brought on the team, they're winning. Is that a good lesson for a kid watching this program? I mean, he'll say, we're 3-0, we're ranked in the top 15, the goal is to win, but you have on the other side some of the, can you just kick a kid out of a scholarship? What do you see about this methodology, Damo?
Well, I don't like it, but it's successful. I don't like what's happening to college football or what has happened to college football. I mean, it's like Mike said. I mean, this has trickled down. I mean, high school kids are rich and driving cars. And
it's when you make winning the end goal, it's at the expense of the kids.
Yeah.
It's going to happen because that's what happens. It just happens.
Would you be jealous, Mike, if you put out East Stroudsburg? It's not exactly football, but if you played at a big-time college program and a kid was making $3 million, Caleb Williams making $8 million supposedly a year at USC while playing quarterback, it's been a question forever, should we pay college kids? Now the top kids are getting top dollar. Would there be jealousy on a team, you think, at the college level? Is it something new? How would you handle that, do you think?
Yeah, I think it's just it drives a wedge in between the team aspect of it. It's hard. It never was meant to be that. Yeah. I think you're gonna it's gonna trickle down, and it's you see it. I see it in Little League football now. I mean, it's getting to. It's just it's a business. It's become a business.
Most of these colleges now have their booster club now is basically fundraising for. Obviously a guy like Caleb Williams is making his millions from it. But there's, they have to pay the other people on the team, the offensive linemen. So they find some way, they find some endorsements for these guys to keep them happy so that what you were talking about, the resentment and the jealousy doesn't fester. And maybe in some cases it does, but.
All right, well, let me throw this one out to you guys. Dion was at Jackson State, now he's at Colorado. I mean, let's see where he builds Colorado and how long it takes. Rome wasn't built in a day, but he's doing a pretty good job his first 3 weeks. If the Jolly Sportsbook, which I just opened this second, made an over-under for games coached as a head coach in the National Football League by Deion Sanders at a half. In other words, will he ever coach a game in the NFL? Do you think he wants to? Where do you go on that one, Damo?
That's a good question. I think he's a short timer at Colorado if he could be successful, and I think he would take an offer from an NFL team, and I think there will be some interest.
Mike, is that kind of motivation work in the NFL? I mean, if he's got good coaches and can coach a game of football, obviously that's tremendous. If it's purely motivation, does the NFL buy that kind of stuff?
Well, it has to a degree because it's still it's a game of intensity. I mean, as a head coach now, you have to be an administrator and a motivator. That's your biggest, keeping the guys pointed, holding your coaches responsible to coach the guys and get them ready to play. I mean, it's just, Belichick was the best at that.
Yeah.
I mean, he pretty much
Did he go somewhere?
No, I'm just saying. No, I'm saying he is.
Yeah.
He is.
You're not going to kill him, are you?
No, but he surrounded himself with good people, and I do believe Dion has surrounded himself with good people, and that's definitely a good attribute of a coach.
Yeah.
All right, guys. The Eagles are 2-0, obviously. Bunch of teams are 2-0. First game this week, 2-0 teams facing each other Monday night in Tampa. After that, the Eagles have the Commanders in one of the 3 Monday night games this year. Then they go to Los Angeles, play a Rams team a little better than I thought they'd be. Home against the Jets, who supposedly lost a quarterback last week. And then a Dolphin team that's looking pretty good right now. Is this an easy schedule? Is this a soft spot, or some teams better than we think? How do you see the Eagles next few weeks, Mike?
Well, I think they're going to only get better. I think they're going to, again, I think the coaching staff is putting together and talking to the guys now about how do we improve on what we do, or how do we get better at what we're doing. I think because they have the experience, I think they can do that. There's some things they need to definitely work on. They have a tough schedule coming up, but I think this next week, I think they could definitely come out of it with a win. I don't think it's going to be a difficult game.
Damo?
Yeah, before the season, I predicted that they could go 9. They went 8-0 last year before they lost. I thought they could actually go 9-0 this year before they hit that 5-game murderer's row that you got. But the Rams are better than I thought. The Dolphins are that offense is a challenge when you've got Jalen Waddle on one side and Tyreek Hill on the other. So, and
Mostert's very fast in the backfield.
If I had to right now look at a game that they could lose, it would be when they go on the road with the Rams, because the Rams are better than everybody thought they would be.
You bring up the Rams. Final topic of the night, and we could go forever with Mike. We appreciate you coming tonight, Mike, always. If I had said to you 6 weeks ago or 6 days ago, Puka Nacua, you'd say, can we get you some medicine? Are you okay? Is the stomach going to be better? 25 catches first 2 weeks without Cooper Kupp. This kid from BYU gets drafted and takes the league by storm. Obviously, he's not going to catch 700 passes this year, but Damo, do you remember an Eagle coming out like this? If you know who he is, he's leading the NFL in receptions, playing everything for the Rams, who are better than we thought, going 1-1, losing the Niners yesterday. When was the last time the Eagles had a Puka Nacua that came out of nowhere like this?
I'd have to go back a ways. But, yeah, I mean, they had 14 draft picks this year. Unfortunately for them, 10 of them were like rounds 5, 6, and 7. And
it's going to be that way for a long time, too.
I thought they're not going to, there's not going to be much improvement. And that's where they end up getting guys like Puka Nacua. So
that's good scouting.
Had you heard of him before last week, Mike?
No, I've not. I never saw I wasn't a big BYU.
Now you're game planning for him, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, hey, that's taking advantage of the opportunity.
Exactly.
You step up, and that you make a difference. You have an
Cooper Kupp gets hurt. Listen, the Eagles, Avonte Maddox down for the year. Pec problem. Is it Josh Jobe? Is it Eli Ricks? Who starts in his place, Damo, next week?
Good question. I think it might be Bradbury.
Let's hope he's back.
Depending on how vulnerable they think they are in the middle against Tampa Bay.
All right, Mike, give me a pick. Eagles, Tampa Bay, next Monday night. Monday Night Football. It is?
I'm going with the Eagles.
What's the score?
I would say 28-14.
No field goals at all, huh?
Nah, well, keep the kickers off the field.
Give Elliott a rest.
Keep the kickers off the field.
Keep the kickers off the field. One kicker will be on the field. The punter, that's for sure. Damo, what do you think?
I'm going to go 27-17.
Eagles 5.5-point favorites on the road in this one. I'll take the Eagles 30-20. Eagles to go 3-0. I don't worry about the style points of the Cowboys. I don't worry about the style points of the Niners. We'll see. They'll get together later this year. The Eagles and the Cowboys twice. Eagles and the Niners once. That murderer's row. Damo, it starts week 9.
Yep.
We will see. We'll have a lot of fun with that. We'll have a lot of fun with you tonight, Mike Reichenbach. Thanks so much for coming out and coming to the Great American Pub tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. We'll have Gary Cobb, another Eagle linebacker, next week from the Great American Pub in Conshohocken. Tuesday night, Brianne O'Neill produced this fine program. Thank you very much, Brianne. And Damo, enjoyed it?
It's been fun.
It's been fun. We'll be back next Tuesday night with another edition of the Monday Night Kickoff with Gary Cobb. Thanks to the audience, the fans who came. Come on next week. Come out and see us at the Great American Pub in Conshohocken. It's a great place. Be back next week. Until then, go Eagles. Have a great week, everybody.